Hi everyone, tonight we will be talking about defense in territory wars. This is a new game mode. We had a beta out a few days ago where we got the chance to play around with it and get a feel for it. Now the way that this works, it's set on Jakku. Woot woot, that's my guild's name. So Rep Jakku, you have a day to set defensive squads, and then the next day you have your offense where you attack. So this is a little bit like tournaments if you are familiar with tournaments. So this will be guild versus guild. So Mobile Gamer already did a video about how to earn points. I will be covering the defensive squad and how to approach defense. Arnold will be covering offense. Going Nerdy will be doing ships, and Mist will be talking about teamwork and guild organization. So definitely make sure to check out all of that other content. Now with these teams, the way it works is once you set a tune in a team for your defense, you do defense first. Once you set it, they are gone for the entire rest of the territory war, including offense, so you can only use a tune once. And these matches are timed, so those are the key components that affect your strategy for territory wars. Now, a lot of this will just depend on what kind of roster you have, what you have at your disposal. Some tunes are obviously going to be excellent for this game mode. Some teams are going to be very good, but a lot of this you can kind of maybe take inspiration, fill in what you have, and maybe get you start thinking about what teams and what components you want in your teams and how you want to approach this. So the first thing is when you're setting these teams, you don't just need to set teams that are hard to beat. These are timed matches, so you can just set teams that take a very long time to beat that are what we call timeout teams. And since they just need to hold on defense, they don't even need to have offense behind them. They can just purely run out the clock. You can also have the deterrent of just having them be really annoying to face so people don't even want to attack them in the first place. Another thing to consider is using teams or tunes that are really boring to use that you don't enjoy. I hate using a tune that does no damage. It's like they're just poking with a stick. I hate that. It's boring, so I'm just gonna put that on my defense because I don't want to use them. This is a game. You should use the teams and the tunes that you want to use, that you have fun using. One of the things that you want to do is you want to force your opponent to use certain tunes. You want to force them to expose their roster. So you want to force them to be using their cleansers, their dispellers, that kind of thing. And at the same time, make sure to not exhaust your rosters of those important tunes. So not only leaving enough tunes for offense, but leaving the key tunes. So make sure you have some cleansers, debuffers, tanks, big damage dealers, stealth in case you're fighting some countering Luke tunes. It doesn't have to be an R2-D2 stealth, it can even be a T-Bow stealth, but remembering to leave some of those key components, even if they're your backups, leave those in your arsenal and force your opponent to use theirs. And the other thing to remember is once you use a tune, it's gone. So you need to be really careful about where you use your strongest tunes, like your Kenobi, your R2-D2, your Luke. But at the same time, you don't have to only use your maxed out tunes. So a lot of your backup tunes that you haven't been considering for a very long time, that you haven't used in a while, this is going to be the time to use them, which is actually a little bit exciting. There's a huge chunk of my roster that I don't even touch anymore. I haven't used my Zeta in a very long time. So this is the time to pull out those old toys. The last thing to remember is the AI is going to be using these teams, so you want to pick tunes that are good under AI. Certain tunes are very bad under AI. Resistance is the big red flag here. Even though this is on Jakku, Resistance will be getting buffs, but you definitely want to use offense. It can work magic, but you have to be guiding it. You can't even really use them on auto. You have to guide it. So do not put them on defense at all. Save them for offense. There's other tunes, kind of the ones with more complicated mechanics, or someone like the original Kylo Ren where the AI uses the wrong ability. Those are the tunes that'll probably be better served on offense. Getting into the specific teams and tunes. So first, the one that really stood out because it's all over the meta right now is a Kenobi lead with Zeta Beerus. And this team, not only is it good in the meta, and pretty much any meta team, current or past, is going to be good in this game mode, but the reason that Kenobi and Beerus is so good, Beerus kind of has to be Zeta, is because they're so survivable and they're so good on defense. If you add in a 5s and an old Ben, that is a very annoying team. It's very hard to kill. Definitely a timeout team. Zeta Beerus keeps everyone alive for a very long time. Zeta Beerus forces them to bring tunes that can either do enough damage to get through her, that won't crit, Nihilus to annihilate her, something like that. So it's really a forceful team. The really funny thing about this team was I actually had some footage that was so long I couldn't even use it, of this team fighting Chase, which is Chirrut and Baze, which is another another excellent option for this mode. And both of those teams, a Rebel team with Chase and this Kenobi Zeta Beerus team, are extremely survivable. They have a ton of health regeneration, and they got into almost an infinite loop, and they just couldn't kill each other. So if you're trying to find a timeout team, these are kind of your best options. The other team that immediately came to my mind is this team that's on my arena shard. I hate it. It is so nasty. I will do whatever I can to not fight it. I can beat it, but it's not a comfortable fight. I don't like it. It's a nasty team. So it's a Thrawn lead, Shore Trooper, Stormtrooper, Krennic, and Death Trooper. They are so hard to kill. I've autoed these through Galactic War before. They have a ton of protection left. They are so hard to kill with the taunting and the management from Thrawn and the damage from Krennic and Death Trooper, Shore Trooper healing them back up, Thrawn giving them protection. It's an absolute nightmare. So this team will be fantastic on defense. A past meta team that I think will do really well in this mode is the Zeta Maul lead. Those teams were very good. They were hard to beat. We just kind of figured out how to beat them, and we figured out better teams, but they were still very good. And like I said, your opponent isn't going to be using their best teams anyway. And the way that we discovered to fight these Zeta Maul teams was using something like a Rex lead. So you'd be forcing your opponent to use their Rex, or if they've already used it, then that's more challenging for them. So this is a very good option. The other component of this is Savage, especially Zeta Savage is very survivable. He's very hard to kill. I've lost a lot of timeout matches because of Savage. Night Sisters is a team that comes to mind because they can keep coming back and back and back. They're hard to kill. They're likely to be a timeout team, likely to be annoying, especially if you pair Acolyte and Zombie together. Acolyte will stealth, and Zombie, as long as there's another Night Sister alive, will keep regenerating. So it can take a while to kill them. So with the revivals plus that duo, that's a potential for a very good team on defense. Now, like I said, these battles do take place on Jakku. So First Order and Resistance do get bonuses. So First Order is a good team to consider with the addition of the unmasked Kylo Ren as a leader. He has a lot of survivability in his kit, but they have more potential on defense with him in play. First Order Stormtrooper is a really good tank, and First Order Tri-Pilot is a nasty damage dealer. Speaking of nasty damage dealers, the big team right now is centered around a Luke lead with the Raid Han and R2-D2. This team is a very good team either on defense or offense, just anywhere. It's an excellent team. It does use a lot of your strong tunes together, but it's very hard to get through, so it is worth considering for defense based on what you want to use for offense. Even though Han isn't very survivable, he can kind of cut through you before you can even kill him, especially under a Luke lead. Other tunes that are good for forcing the hand of your opponent will be someone like Darth Vader, especially with a Zeta on his leadership, since the damage over times will not go away, so you're kind of forcing a tenacity up to be used. Palpatine's debuffs are very nasty, very annoying to deal with, and even though Palpatine isn't that strong health-wise, he's easy to kill. Like I said, your opponent isn't going to be using their best tunes, so he could be very difficult. Looking into the kind of side miscellaneous hole filling tunes that will just be good on any team. First, we have Royal Guard. Royal Guard is a very good tank, especially if he's paired with a healer, because he's taunting when someone's going below health. So if you bring them right back up, then he can trigger his taunt again and again. He forces you to either have enough damage to kill him or put certain debuffs onto him. With Dooku, by himself, he's a very annoying tune. Him, Fives, any of these countering tunes are very annoying, but his leadership, same with Old Ben, that evasion is a nasty leadership. It's quite annoying. So if you need a backup leader when you're getting towards the end of their roster, this could be a good option. Boba Fett and Scarif are very good for this mode because they have their revival buffs. I've gotten into timeout battles with Boba Fett. If I don't kill him early on and he kills one of my tunes, he just keeps getting that unique buff back where he'll keep reviving. He can be really nasty and really irritating to deal with. Scarif, we've seen, can kind of get into this infinite revival where he keeps bringing himself back. And speaking of revival, someone like Ewok Elder, Daka, anyone that can bring a revival. Even though we know how to fight revivals and it's not this end all for the battle, it's just kind of extending it a little more or making the team a little bit harder to fight. It's just kind of another layer of strategy to consider. Then the last two tunes that I think are really useful are B2 and Sunfac. So B2, you will get 100% turn meter whenever someone else on the team takes damage. So if they're trying to take out a big damage dealer first, right away, if they're attacking a taunting tank, he'll get a bunch of turn meter and then dispel all of their buffs. He's a really annoying tune to face. Sunfac is a really good backup tank. He kind of forces a debuffer or a despeller to prevent him from taunting or get rid of his taunt, because while he's taunting, he's pretty hard to get through. He's very tanky and he counters, and when he counters, he dispels. So he's one of those examples. Him and Royal Guard are examples of there are better tanks, but like I said, you need to set multiple defensive squads. So they're nice to put in your squad to have a tank in there to toughen it up and make it harder to get through. So these are the components I'm thinking of for building your defense in Territory Wars. Let me know what you all think about your defense for Territory Wars, and make sure to check out the rest of the content for this new game mode.